Hello and welcome. Welcome back to another Onkruid video. Welcome back to another unedited Soulstone Survivors episode. We are playing with the Barbarian, is his name right? Or Berserker, right? This is a problem that has been plaguing me since the very start of playing this game. I keep forgetting this guy's name and I have no idea why, but I do believe it is the Barbarian. We're playing with his third weapon, so the newest weapon, which we have unlocked a long time ago because we have no life at all. So we unlocked this at day 1 because we had so many materials saved up from absolutely destroying my own sanity by playing this game for 24 hours straight, multiple sessions on end. And we are going for a thunder build. Na 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 na. Or you could go the Imagine Dragons route, but I am not a homosexual, so that's controversial. Don't mind the band, you know, Imagine Dragons, don't mind them at all. I know a lot of people, maybe not a lot of people, but I know that some people definitely like have a severe dislike for the band. That's not something I am accustomed to, not something I am dealing with myself. Radioactive was a bop when it came out. When I hear it now, I am like, alright, I've heard this song enough already. Some of their new music, definitely okay. Definitely okay. I feel like they also had some missers already. Can't necessarily, and that's maybe a good sign of that I am just full of shit and completely making stuff up. Can't really think of an example of like a bad song they have had recently, but I'm sure that if I would go through their catalog, their discography, their oeuvre right now, I would discover some shit that would make me go like, that ain't it, chief. I want to go for an electricity build. Why are they not giving me anything? That ain't it, chief. That's definitely something I would experience. It's where my demons hide. Not a bad song. Thunder. Feel the thunder. Lightning and the thunder. Also not a bad song. No. Maybe that's not their best. And then recently they had some new music as well, right? Don't they have a song about bones? But I can't really sing it in my head for the moment. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, actually, not sure how that song goes. I know if I hear it, I will be like, oh yeah, right, that's Imagine Dragons, because I know that I am a little proficient at recognizing artists. Most of the time, though, it's not that great, and that is because my head is too full and too quick. And that's the main topic I had in mind to talk about today, if we would have a list of topics to talk about in this episode. First of all, it would be anime waifus. Second of all, though, the topic I wanted to talk about was the way that my head is always moving too quickly, moving too fast, and my thoughts have kind of been out of control lately. By which I don't mean that I have like intrusive thoughts or overly sexual thoughts or anything. It's not what I'm saying. They are just moving too fast. I notice this when I'm reading, for example. I am so focused on as quickly as possible getting to the next chapter, the next subheader, the next sentence, the next word, the next letter even maybe, that sometimes I am just moving along the page with my eyes, moving them along with my nervus oculomotoris, and in the end I am not even reading. I am just moving as fast as possible. And I noticed this when I was watching YouTube as well sometimes, because of my habit of watching those things on ×2 speed. I was sometimes watching videos without actually watching them or listening to them at all. I was, for example, as you all know, because I've talked about this in the last 10 videos that I have created, watching a bunch of Sneaky and Meteos and their restream or their watch party of LCS, of League of Legends Championships. And I realized that I was enjoying it a little bit, but I was not really consciously always seeing what was going on or which way the matches were actually going or which plays were made and stuff like that, you know? All in all, I was just listening a little bit here and there, picking up small segments of what was happening, but I was not consciously and presently actually looking at what was happening throughout the matches. And their commentary also just kind of happened. I heard that they were talking and I picked up some sentences, some general sentiments even of what they were saying, but like in general, coherently listening to everything they were saying, no, that was out of the question because everything was moving way too fast, way too quickly. And that's when I realized, alright, maybe go for that 1.5 speed. Because it has been scientifically proven in the case of like lessons in university, so therefore I think YouTube should definitely be the same, that it is a-okay for people to watch at 1.5 speeds, that they still pick up a whole lot, if not all of the information. So I've kind of slowed it down a little bit. It has lessened my consumption of content, but it has heightened my actual thoughtful and mindful consumption of content. I was also listening to some podcasts and stuff on ×2 speed when I was falling asleep, and she's calling a cab, and now he's having a smoke and she's taking a drag, and that didn't really do anything for me either. I noticed that when I woke up in the morning, then I did not remember anything at all from what was said last night. Not that that's necessarily the goal of why I put on the podcast. The goal is more often than not just to fall asleep, and he's calling a cab, and now he's having a smoke and she's taking a drag, and my stomach is sick. But it's more just to fall asleep, and a podcast helps in that front. Lightning bolt. We have had quite a lot of flurry strikes already. Heroic strike applies confused, but we are not looking for confused, we are looking for electricity, so that's why I want a lightning bolt in my arsenal. And that's why this video, you might hear me talk a bit slower as well, you might hear me think a little bit more about what I'm saying instead of just rambling on and rambling on. Because I also noticed this whenever I record YouTube videos. I have this tendency to think that I just have to keep on talking. Whatever happens, the speech systems in my body need to keep producing sounds at a non-stop pace, at such a high frequency that there is no second of silence. And that is kind of detrimental to the quality of my speech and of the thoughts that I produce, because my mind can't keep up. And that's why I'm slowing it down a little bit. Slowing it down in general a little bit in my life. Now I am in like a very serene, zen, safe space in my mind too. And ready to just think and explicitly state those thoughts back to you guys in a coherent manner. And that is mainly because it's been quite a cognitively active day already. I had an entire day of working. Had quite a long day of working even. Only with 3 clients though, but also intervision and also scoring some diagnostic research, so I have been doing a lot of thinking. And additionally, and probably like the biggest factor, the star player in this whole story, I went for a nice run right before recording this video. So that's why my thoughts are nice and clear, nice and structured, and my mind is well rested. Ready to produce some insightful stuff and not just ramble on about random actors that performed in movies that I haven't even watched myself. Like for example, Mel Gibson in What Women Want. Great movie though. I have seen that movie multiple times even, I think. Some of those occasions were definitely when I was still a kid and the movie was just played on TV, on television. But I assume, I estimate that I have seen that movie probably at least 3 times already. And I would watch it again right now. I don't think it's like a blockbuster, game changer, the movie industry will never be the same kind of movie. It's not like Cocaine Bear or anything. But I do think that it was quite a well-received movie. Although a little bit controversial, a little bit stereotypical as well. Like every woman thinks that the male ahead of them in the corporate world is a douchebag, a piece of shit. All he can think about is sex, blah 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 blah. Men would use that power to get into women's pants and stuff. And this is all talking from the perspective of not having seen the movie in at least 10 years, so it might not even be a great representation of what the movie is actually about. But if you don't know what the movie is, I will quickly sketch the main premise for you, spoiler alert. It's about this guy, played by Mel Gibson, who can all of a sudden hear women's thoughts. And whereas normally he was a bit of a piece of shit, a bit of a douchebag and very misogynistic, well maybe not very misogynistic, but he wasn't that friendly to women either way. He didn't go out of his way to be more friendly to women than is baseline necessary, which is like not slapping them in the face. And he transformed into this very thoughtful person. Using the things that women told him about their vulnerabilities and about the things they would really want to kind of spin them around his finger, if you will, which is not that thoughtful at all. But that's like just the main premise of the movie. I remember also that he has this psychiatrist or psychologist that he talks to, and he's like, I can hear women's thoughts, and that woman is like, yeah, right, prove it to me. And then he tells her to think about a number between 1 and 1 million or something, and he recites it perfectly. So that's one of the scenes I vividly remember. And then I also think there's a scene where a woman is kind of like thinking about having sexual intercourse with him, and he almost spits out his drink, but I might be misremembering that a little bit, as I've mentioned multiple times already. It's been a while since I've seen that movie. I don't watch enough movies, that's for sure. Especially also now that my hobby of quizzing has been, or trivia quizzes has been picking up more and more, I definitely need to be more aware of the movie industry and the endeavors of famous movie directors, but it is slowly but surely increasing a little bit more. Thunderstrike. Do we want to get rid of any ability? I don't think I want to get rid of Flurry anymore, because we have used so many upgrades for that spell already that I don't want to replace it with something electric just for the sake of it. I think all in all our build is fine. We haven't had any revives popped. We are at almost the final wave of lords. But I must say that our build is like fine, but it's not amazing. It's not crazy, right? It doesn't deal insane heaps of damage, but it deals enough damage to kind of get rid of the lords. That was our first Fateful Strikes, and I think that is definitely also like a big factor in why we were not doing that much damage, because our Flurry was not applying one of the negative effects that normally has one of the most effects because of all the synergetic abilities. So now maybe our damage increased a little bit, although I am not necessarily immediately notice it when I look at the Fallen King's health bar. I think that we are still not completely doing insane amount of damage, but sometimes that's also fine, you know. That can also help me to slow down a little bit, practice some more of that mindful gaming, which in games like this can realize, or can be realized in the sense of not always using the most efficient, most screen destroying, lord killing in 1 second build there is, but sometimes just going for a nice little niche, a nice little synergy that gives us some more time. So more time to enjoy the run and to be calm and collected about it. I say as I dash into the place where all the lords are stacked on top of each other. I do think that we need to stay a little bit closer to actually make our build pop completely, so that all our short range electric abilities can also hit the lords. But for now we are just relying on our longer range Flurry to apply all types of negative effects. And it is working already a little bit, it is effective, but our short range electric abilities are real damage dealers, I think. Or a bit more burst damage dealers. There's quite a lot of enemies in this little pack here, so I think we are just gonna stay circling around for now until that pack thins out a little bit. I think that is the best approach for now. Second to last set of lords. The next set of lords is definitely gonna spawn before we kill these 3, because we are really not dealing a lot of damage to the lords at all. Also not gaining a lot of XP anymore. We have kind of stagnated a little bit here, but slowly but surely we are chipping down at them still. There's just so many of those elites in there as well, and all that's dealing damage to them is my Flurry, if my Flurry even reaches those guys. Maybe we should move across the map a little bit and hope that that makes them spread out for a second. And then we can test our damage on one of these towers a little bit. We're doing some damage, but it's not amazing, it's not insane, it's not crazy. We need to stay nice up and close and personal and really deal damage for a long period of time before it actually starts racking up and stacking up and all that good stuff. But I can't stay too close for too long, because then I will inadvertently just die, just drop dead, like Holy Humberstone would say. Tomorrow I'm going bowling again. It's been a while. Back when I was still looking for a job and I had almost all the time in the world, I was going bowling every week really with my nephew, but now it has been months. And it always takes months before I find the time or make the time again, because I just always feel like in reality I have better, more important things to do. Things for work, for example, learning to become a better therapist and stuff. But I am definitely looking forward to it. My girlfriend is also joining us, and then in the evening I'm gonna have a nice dinner with a friend. A friend with whom I have like the tradition to go out for dinner at least once a month, and it's really one of my most looked forward to experiences of the entire month, because I adore that friend quite a lot. And I know that she doesn't always find it as easy as some people to make social interactions happen, to plan dates, dinner dates and stuff, so I am very honored that with me it kind of works out and she feels safe enough to do it multiple times. I'm gonna move out of here a little bit again because we are almost through our second revive. Try and get rid of these towers a little bit because there are a lot of red circles on the ground for us to keep track of. Let's try and pick up one of these and hopefully gain a level or two. A little bit more attack speed is very much welcome. I would love to have something better, really. Nope, not good enough. Man, not really what we're looking for still, but okay, I guess. I think Flurry is definitely our main damage dealer for now, so when that is not up, we are just not dealing a lot of damage. That is at least one more tower down for the count. Let's try and get this one down before moving on to the one in the top right. Seems to be quite a dangerous habit and dangerous journey to embark on, though, to try and get these towers down. We are still embarking on nonetheless. Episode 86 already, really getting quite close to that 100 episode mark, and that's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be a goal fulfilled in line with my values, which give me the most satisfaction in life, of course. But it's also gonna be weird. This game has been such a staple of the channel for such a long while that it's gonna be weird to not play it anymore. And probably once the full game releases, I will pick it up again. But I don't think I am immediately gonna continue the series post the 100th episode, because I still have so many games to record, or so many games I want to record and I want to make time for. I want to explore on the Onkruid channel a little bit. I'm kinda starting to doubt whether we are actually gonna be able to win this run, but I am definitely gonna try my best. The bosses, the lords are just really tanky. Maybe some movement speed is not too bad to pick up, really. It doesn't give us any extra damage, of course, but it does give us some extra dodge power to move right into a poison field and pop our second revive, for example. You really just need that extra burst of movement speed to do such amazing things. How are we doing on damage on the lords? They are all still looking quite plump and healthy. Well fed, vital, not in need of medical care at all. So that's not great. Get rid of this final tower that is plaguing us with the red circles on the ground. And another tower has already spawned, so I guess we're just moving over to here now. Right before recording this episode, I watched a little, or listened to a little podcast. A Dutch podcast episode, only 15 minutes long, about OCD, Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. Quite an interesting disorder, quite a harrowing disorder though for the people that suffer from it. Main characteristic are these intrusive thoughts. These intrusive thoughts that kind of tell you that you're, for example, a bad person, or that something insanely bad is gonna happen. Most of the time, that is something insanely bad is gonna happen if you don't do X, or if you don't think Y. Like, for example, if you don't wash your hands 3 times in a row after coming home from work, you will get a deadly disease and die. If you don't switch the light on and off 3 times before you leave for work, you will have a car accident on your way to work. It's those kinds of things. It's more often than not thoughts that we all have sometimes. Like, for example, if you're standing on the side of a train track and you're waiting for the train to come by, you think for a second like, oh, I need to make sure that I don't trip and land in front of the train, because that's not going to be great. But the difference is that they think of those thoughts in a way more severe manner. They think, for example, that a thought and a behavior or an action are actually equal. So that just thinking about, for example, having sexual intercourse with one of their colleagues is as bad as actually cheating on their spouse with that sexual colleague, and they reprimand themselves. They feel very responsible for bad things that happen to them and their environment. And in essence, it's fear disorder. A disorder focused on fear, on anxiety. For example, the anxiety or the fear of getting contaminated. The anxiety or fear of being smited down by a higher presence is also possible. The anxiety or fear of dying or of getting someone else in their near environment killed. All things they are very fearful for. And it is very important to make sure that that core fear, the thing they are actually anxious for, that is clear to everybody involved, so to themselves and also to the caregiver or the psychologist or therapist or psychiatrist, whatever you want to call it, that is trying to treat them, and not to just go into the response prevention or the stopping of avoidance behavior, because that is mainly what the treatment consists of. You make them quit their avoidance behavior, so you make them, for example, come home and don't wash their hands, to make them realize and learn that that is okay, that nothing bad happens. But that is like a bit too fast. You're jumping the gun. Those hitboxes on those poison fields are bullshit, I can tell you that much. That was 3 times in a row that I didn't even touch the brim, and yet I had a Yankee. Ooh! You know what the next episode is going to be about. We're going to test out this stuff. Most treatments immediately, or most therapists immediately, want to stop their avoidance behavior, but it's way more important to first of all get a clear view of what the fear and the anxiety actually entails. And you need to look at those 2 elements separately. The avoidance and the fear are separate elements. And another really beautiful thing from the podcast I picked up is heel goed luisteren naar hoe bestaat jij, or in English, listening really well and carefully to how do you exist at this moment. And that is all about like not immediately writing off behavior as bad or not having a function, but really being empathic towards a person, going into their position, putting on their shoes, for example, stepping into their life and realizing the function of the behavior for them specifically. So for example, you think like, why would you not go outside? That is such a virtue of life, to go outside, being in nature and stuff is beautiful. But then you realize in their shoes, going outside is insanely scary. I think that a bird is gonna shit on my head and I will die from a virus infection, you know? So you understand why they are not going outside. And that is very, very important. Thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.